In the year 2087, our world was at peace. It had taken centuries, but finally all nations had united under one banner, sharing technology, resources, and most importantly, their dreams for the future. Old rivalries were forgotten, borders dissolved. We had ended war, poverty, and disease. Now we looked to the stars and prepared to become a true spacefaring civilization. It seemed like anything was possible. I was working with the Global Defense Initiative stationed at the Kennedy Space Center on the Florida coast. Life there was exciting but also relaxing. After the Shaper invasion, no one would ever relax again. No one except maybe the Shapers. It started with a global silence. Satellites stopped transmitting. Cell phones no longer worked, and planes were grounded because air traffic control had gone silent. At first, it seemed like a localized power grid failure. But within hours, every single power station from Tokyo to London had failed mysteriously. Then, people started to disappear. One moment they were there, the next, they vanished without a trace. Their homes and workplaces were locked down and searched, but nothing was out of place. It was like they had never been there at all. The sky was clear of any sign of an invasion, but a chill ran through me. Something was coming. That night, several of our recon drones were sent up to scout the situation. They never returned. Then they began to appear. From the darkest corner of our solar system, around the moon, hundreds of ships emerged. And while they did not fire a single laser or bomb, they invaded our world in the most terrifying way imaginable. Their ships were unlike anything human hands had built. Formed of a shifting metal and light, they pulsed and flowed in unnatural ways, clearly piloted by something alive. But whatever intelligence was piloting them was not from this world. I watched in awe as they descended toward the Earth. The Shapers do not resemble any human or alien race known to modern science. They have no discernible face, arms, or legs. Instead, they seem to be a constantly shifting mass of light and energy contained within a translucent shell of some sort of advanced metal. What we can see seems almost secondary to what they are really capable of. When the Shapers arrived, they came with no weapons. So when they spoke, it was through telepathy, a psychic frequency beyond the range of normal human senses. All at once, billions of minds were invaded. Every single person on the planet, every animal too. It was absolute. No one could hide. There was nowhere to run. The message was simple. This was their home world, Earth, and we were the invaders. They were the first life in the universe, they said, and they predated humanity by millions of years. Long before our species even existed, this planet was theirs. But somehow, over time, they had been driven out, and now it was time for them to reclaim their birthright. They didn't need weapons because they brought their own destruction with them. The Shapers do not kill people so much as they take them. Some fell into comas, never to wake up. Others turned violently insane and attacked anyone near them. A lucky few retained their sanity. But many started speaking in archaic languages that hadn't been spoken in thousands of years. They claimed to be hearing the voices of their ancestors, but they weren't alone. Many also heard the voices of the Shapers, who slowly began to twist their wills. Governments crumbled within days. Armies were sent to stop the Shapers, but their vehicles simply drove through tanks and soldiers like they were made of mist. Entire cities fell in mere hours. Soon, the only escape was into the wilderness, but the Shapers didn't care about land or resources or treasure. They only wanted people. They took whomever they wanted, wherever they wanted. Families were torn apart, lovers forced to part ways. Everyone was affected. No one was safe. It was then that I found out I wasn't alone. In the chaos, I met Lena, a brilliant young programmer who had managed to break free of the Shapers' psychic net. She had assembled a small team of scientists, psychics, and military rebels who had somehow resisted the Shapers' invasion. Together, We fled into the mountains of South America, where the Shapers seemed less interested in coming. There we learned more about the Shapers, their technology and their plans for the future. Their ships were able to enter our atmosphere undetected because they were not made of metal or any other solid material. They were alive, made of some sort of super-advanced organic tech. How they moved through our world without disturbing it was a miracle of biology and engineering. Their weapons were even more terrifying. Their main assault was their psychic powers, which allowed them to dominate the minds of their victims. But they also wielded focused blasts of concussive force that could shatter a concrete building or burn through steel like tissue paper. The Shapers planned to harvest the human mind, taking the consciousness of our strongest thinkers, artists, innovators, and warriors. Then they would use that knowledge to upgrade themselves, making themselves smarter, stronger, better. With each mind they took, they became more powerful, more perfect. We knew we couldn't beat them head-on, so we went searching for a different solution. Deep in the Andes, we discovered an ancient temple buried under thousands of years of sediment. Inside were artifacts unlike anything I had seen before. The walls were covered with carvings depicting the Shapers and their defeat at the hands of an ancient race of humans. Legend told of a great psychic weapon buried deep in the earth, a device left behind by the ancients that could fight the Shapers at their own game. If we could find it, we might still have a chance. Guided by the carvings in the temple, we set out into the mountains to find it. Our journey was fraught with danger. Not only did the Shapers seek us out, but the terrain was harsh and unforgiving. Still, we pressed on, driven by our desire to save humanity. Finally, after weeks of searching, we found it. Buried deep in the ice at the top of a glacier was a strange obelisk made of a material that seemed alien. It hummed with power. I reached out to touch it, but Lena stopped me. She explained that the obelisk was connected to the Shapers, a beacon used by their ancestors to amplify their psychic abilities. It was incredibly dangerous, but also our best chance to fight back. We decided to use it to amplify our own psychic abilities, to strengthen our minds and resist the Shapers. But the Shapers found us. As we stood before the obelisk, they attacked. Ships descended from the sky, firing blasts of concussive force at the mountain. The ground shook as rocks and ice rained down around us. The Shapers had trapped us. Then Lena stepped forward. She placed her hands on the obelisk and closed her eyes. The earth rumbled, and the psychic link between the obelisk and the Shapers flared. When Lena opened her eyes, they glowed with power. She reached out with her mind, reaching across the planet to every human mind she could touch. And for a moment, I saw hope. Then everything went black. When I woke up, the world was quiet. The Shapers were gone. So was Lena. All around me, people stirred, blinking in the sunlight. Many of them were injured, some barely clinging to life. But they were here. They had survived. It turned out Lena had succeeded in amplifying our psychic abilities, allowing us to resist the Shapers and drive them back. But the victory came at a price. Lena had given her life to protect us. She had become the conduit between the obelisk and the people, and the Shapers had destroyed her in the end. Only a handful of us remained who knew what had happened, who understood the psychic link between the obelisk and the planet. But as the survivors began to rebuild, we knew we were ready if the Shapers ever returned. We had lost so much, but we had also gained something new, a strength born of tragedy, a unity forged in the fires of defeat. As the world began to heal, we buried Lena and the obelisk, knowing that if the Shapers ever came back, we would be ready. This is a Science Channel original story. Our stories are always ad-free, which means that our videos are always free for everyone forever. But we depend on our patrons to help us keep it that way. So please go over to our support page to learn how you can help us keep our videos free for everyone forever.